There's a moment right before your name is called. Your palms are wet. Your heart feels louder than the room. Your throat tightens like it's trying to protect you from something dangerous. The microphone stands there, waiting. The audience is a blur of faces. And in that single second, your mind whispers the same lie it has always whispered: you are not ready. You are not enough. You will embarrass yourself. For some people, public speaking is just an activity. For others, it feels like standing at the edge of a cliff with no harness. It feels like exposure, like judgment, like danger. And if you've ever felt your voice shake in front of a room, if you've ever avoided opportunities because you were afraid to speak, if you've ever chosen silence over visibility, then this message is for you. Because the fear of public speaking is rarely about speaking. It's about being seen. It's about standing in your truth without hiding. It's about allowing your voice to take up space. And for many of us, that's terrifying. I remember the first time I had to present in front of a crowd. My slides were ready. I had practiced the words. But when I stepped onto that stage, everything disappeared. My hands trembled so hard I had to grip the podium. My mouth went dry. My voice came out small, fragile. I rushed through the presentation, barely breathing. And when it was over, I didn't feel relief. I felt shame. I replayed every stumble in my head. Every pause. Every moment my voice cracked. I told myself, you're just not made for this. And that's the moment most people quit. Not out loud, but internally. They decide, quietly, that they are not the kind of person who speaks. They shrink back into safety. But here's the truth that changed everything for me: confidence is not born. It is built. And it is built through exposure. Fear thrives in avoidance. The more you run from it, the larger it grows. The less you face it, the more powerful it becomes. But exposure does something radical. Exposure shrinks fear. It introduces light into dark corners. It teaches your nervous system that the cliff is actually a stage, and you can stand on it without falling. The next time I was asked to speak, I almost said no. My heart pounded just reading the email. But something inside me was tired of shrinking. Tired of watching opportunities pass by. So I said yes, not because I felt ready, but because I refused to let fear decide my future. The second time wasn't magical. My voice still shook. My hands still trembled. But I stayed. I didn't run. I didn't rush off the stage. I felt the discomfort, and survived it. That survival changed something. Because fear makes promises it cannot keep. It promises humiliation. It promises disaster. It promises collapse. But when you expose yourself to the very thing you fear, and nothing catastrophic happens, your brain begins to rewrite the story. The third time, I prepared differently. Not just the words, but my mindset. I accepted that nervousness was not a sign of weakness. It was energy. I stopped trying to eliminate fear and started trying to move with it. My hands still felt warm. My heartbeat still raced. But this time, I didn't fight it. And something surprising happened. Instead of focusing on how I was being judged, I focused on what I was giving. I shifted from, how do I look, to, how can I serve? And that shift was powerful. Because fear of public speaking is often rooted in self-focus. What if I mess up? What if they laugh? What if they think I'm stupid? But when you shift the focus outward, to impact, to value, to connection, the fear loosens its grip. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that your message matters more than your discomfort. And the only way to reach that decision is through repetition. Exposure. Showing up again and again, even when your voice shakes. There was a turning point. A moment I didn't expect. I was speaking at a small event, nothing grand. Halfway through, I stumbled over a word. The old panic surged. The familiar voice whispered, "See? You're failing." But instead of freezing, I paused. I smiled. I corrected myself. And I continued. The audience didn't laugh. They didn't judge. They leaned in. And in that moment, I realized something profound. People are not waiting for you to be perfect. They are waiting for you to be real. Perfection is intimidating. Authenticity is relatable. That was the shift. I stopped trying to be a flawless speaker. I started trying to be a human one. And the more I exposed myself to speaking, in meetings, in small groups, on bigger stages, the more my fear transformed. It didn't vanish overnight. It evolved. It became manageable. It became fuel. Exposure built familiarity. Familiarity built comfort. Comfort built confidence. If you're afraid of public speaking right now, understand this: the stage is not your enemy. Avoidance is. The more you hide, the stronger the fear grows. But every time you raise your hand to speak, every time you volunteer to present, every time you choose courage over comfort, you are weakening that fear. Your first speech won't be perfect. Neither will your 5th. Or your 10th. But somewhere along the way, you'll notice something subtle. Your hands shake less. Your breathing steadies faster. Your words flow a little smoother. Not because you were suddenly transformed, but because you exposed yourself to growth. Fear is a doorway. On one side is safety. On the other side is expansion. And exposure is the key that unlocks it. There is someone out there who needs to hear your voice. Your ideas. Your story. Your perspective. But they will never hear it if you keep silencing yourself to stay comfortable. Confidence is earned in the arena, not in the shadows. So stand up. Even if your heart pounds. Speak. Even if your voice trembles. Show up. Even if your mind doubts you. Because the goal is not to eliminate fear. The goal is to outgrow it. One exposure at a time. And one day, you'll step onto a stage, literal or metaphorical, and you'll feel that familiar rush of nerves. But instead of shrinking, you'll smile. Because you'll recognize it. You'll know it. And you'll know that it no longer controls you. You built something stronger than fear. You built yourself. And here's the truth that will carry you forward: the voice you're afraid to use today is the very voice that will open doors tomorrow. So speak. Not because you are fearless, but because you are becoming brave.